Hi there. There are worshippers of the Demiurge, and modern Gnosticism needs to be able to counter these worshippers in a constructive way, rather than just painting them out to be worshippers of evil. I mean, for a start, modern Gnosticism is a lot more sophisticated than classical Gnosticism, because let's face it, in the 12th century, life was so appallingly bad in general that a lot of people said it would be much better to get the hell out of here than stick around on this particular rock floating in space or whizzing around in space. And that's fair enough, really. So matter was evil, something to be escaped from, and spirit was good, something to be hoped for, something to be prepared for, and as escape, the escape from the appalling conditions that an average person found themselves in during the 12th century, and well, let's face it, all the way up to the 1960s, really, in the West. But there are worshippers of the Demiurge, and the big thing about the worshippers of the Demiurge, and they come in all sorts of different flavours, by the way, everything from Freemasons to demonolators. I actually looked for a temple of the Demiurge and couldn't find it on the internet. But the Demiurge is known as Rex Mundi, king of the earth, Satan, that kind of thing. Saturn. And, I couldn't find anything, but there are lots of different worshippers of the Demiurge. And the big thing about them is that they are anti-transcendental, anti-transcendentalist. But what that really means is that if I wave my hand around this room as I'm in now, this is all there is. Sort of looked, waving my hand at the material objects in the room. If I wave my hand at the big book of Goetia, or the big Golden Dawn book of magic, if I wave my hand at that, the anti-transcendentalist will say that's all there is. If I wave my hand vaguely in the direction of the tantric books that I have, that's all there is, tantra, pranic energy, swishing around in the body, chakras, whatever. And you may say, well, it doesn't sound very it doesn't sound very anti-transcendentalist, because materialists and secularists and humanists don't believe in ghosts and Goetia and magic. But as far as the Demiurge worshippers are concerned, well, it's all basically of the Demiurge, and it's just something about it's certainly, well, we have to define what we mean by worship, and I'll come to that in a minute. But at any rate, worship can certainly mean appreciate. So you'd set up an altar, and you'd certainly thank the Demiurge for everything that the Demiurge has created. It is the creator God, and you believe that the Demiurge has also created the astral and several layers of etheric dimensions on top of the material dimension that we also enjoy and appreciate, obviously. And the thing about existence is that when you think, there are three forces at play: destructive, preserving, and creative or creational. And one could really say that the preserving forces and the creational forces are together form 60% of existence, let us say, and only 30% of existence is comprises of the destructive forces. That is to say that we, on average, perceive 60% of this universe as being positive, and only 30% of it being negative. And that and also it depends on, and basically people could say, well, the destructive is the evil, and the constructive is the good. But when you look at it from with different points of view, I mean, to the HIV virus, everything it's all good. To the person suffering from HIV, it's pretty much all bad. Although nowadays, of course, with a cocktail of drugs available, you can have a pretty good life and longer life expectancy than you could decades ago with HIV. So, but obviously you don't want to have HIV, so you look upon the HIV virus as being something evil, or you could look upon it as being evil, but really you could say there's no absolute definition of good and evil, because there's always different ways of looking at things. The HIV virus could look at you as being evil because you want to get rid of it, but you want to get rid of the HIV virus because you think that's evil, and it's not fair that it's destroying your immune system, right? So there's a difference of opinion, let us say, between what is good and what is evil. So given that, you could say that everything that is created by the Creator God it's all good. It's all good. Depends on which way you look at it. Is the glass half empty or the glass half full? Two people can see the same glass in different, obviously half full or half empty. So the predator, it's all good to the predator, not so good for the prey. But on the other hand, there's enough of the universe of positivity in the universe for the prey to have a pretty good life before it gets caught by the predator. And the predator sees everything as good, because why shouldn't it predate on the prey? That's what prey is there for, right? So worshippers of the Demiurge, they don't have a good and evil duality. They don't see the world in those terms. They see the world basically as something as it is. And you either have to adapt to circumstances and conditions or die. That's the choice. You either make of life what you can, or life makes of you what it can. Either way, it is what it is, kind of thing. And that's all you can basically say. And if you don't worry about the future and you don't regret the past, you've got the here and now, which is basically what a lot of worshippers of the Demiurge figure is the only thing that one can actually say, which is wisdom in a phrase. Basically, the here and now is all that we have, and an enjoyment of the here and now as we possibly can. As we can manage it, sort of thing, but obviously we have to recognise that not everything is going to be enjoyable about existence, but generally speaking it is, and life isn't as bad as people make out, especially nowadays, and we come on to that. Now, the other thing about worshippers of Demiurge is they say, isn't the universe incredibly clever? I mean, when you look at the level of quantum physics right up to biological systems and beyond that to the human mind and the way that the human mind has created the reality that the human mind has created, coding computers and software, for example, and the incredible inventions starting with the wheel and going on from there, really. And not only that, but due to the human consciousness, human adroitness, human cleverness, there exist forces which can be manipulated to either an individual's advantage or to the advantage of community or to humankind in general. And the devotees of the Demiurge, they say that to take the forces of the universe and to make something of them, to manipulate them to our advantage, is the worship of this Creator God, because it's like the master teaches everything that he or she knows to the apprentice, and the apprentice takes all that knowledge and creates a masterpiece. Obviously, that's going to be very pleasurable, pleasing to the master. It's the parable of the talents. If the person that buried the talent isn't going to be as favoured to the Creator God as a person that made more talents out of well investing or properly investing the talents that they had. So, you take your skills, your knowledge, your experience, and you make them better. You forge your own destiny. You create something more of yourself, something more of your community, something more of your environment. And this surely is pleasing to the Creator God. It's like the Creator God, fortune favors the brave, and we worship the Demiurge, the non-transcendental God, by making the best of what we have, instead of wanting to escape from what we perceive as the awfulness of life, which isn't so awful as in fact we do perceive. And it's up to sentient beings to adapt to circumstances and the environment as best they can. And this in itself is how devotees of the Demiurge worship the Demiurge. In fact, the Demiurge basically finds everything about the human race, for example, pleasing. Even if the persons involved don't actually consciously recognize the Demiurge, it still pleases the Demiurge that we humans are so creative, because we kind of reflect the incredible complexity and the just amazing cleverness of nature itself. And if you believe in the astral dimensions and the etheric dimensions, then the cleverness gets even more. It increases when you think that it's not just on this material dimension that the cleverness exists, but it extends right up to beyond the material, so to great advanced dimensions that exist in even more complexity than the one we perceive around us on the material plane, which is complex and amazing enough. So, life is a cornucopia of great invention. And you think of evolution and you think of species adaptation. It is amazing. The word is amazing. So there's an appreciation for the amazingness of existence and of nature. And there's a manipulation of natural forces and occult forces to our advantage, which is pleasing to the Creator God. And it's how we worship the God. We, as an apprentice to the Master, we present what we've created to the Master and say, look, this is what we have done in reflection of your greatness. And this is a wonderful thing to the architect, to the great Master architect. Basically, why on earth should there be anything other than this? Why on earth should anybody want to escape this situation? Challenging and tough as it is at times, there seems no point in being transcendentalist and hoping and preparing and trying to seek some transcendental realm where none of this matters or none of this exists. I suppose the final point is, what on earth would be the point of living in a perfect universe? It's the imperfections of the universe and the imperfections of us and other sentient beings and of the forces of nature that is half the fun, or all of the fun, really, because it throws up challenges and obstacles that we have to overcome. And when we overcome them, we feel good about ourselves. We are motivated to do well, to pursue excellence, and to revel in the excellence of our adaptation. How does the modern Gnostic, how do they, being transcendentalists at heart, how would they respond to this? And I think, in all honesty, the modern Gnostic has to say, do you know what? I think I kind of agree with the worshippers of the Demiurge, and I'm not saying that the Demiurge is evil and shouldn't be worshipped, shouldn't be appreciated, and I'm not even saying that we shouldn't manipulate the forces of nature, hidden, seen and unseen, to our advantage if we can. And I'm not trying to take take that away from the human race or belittle people's efforts to adapt to circumstances and environments or perish. We're not even going against the idea that the adversarial spirit or algorithm can indeed be incredibly creative, which is another thing that the worshippers of the Demiurge appreciate and point out, that creative power of the adversarial algorithm or spirit in the universe. The fact that opposites struggle against each other, and either things arise out of that, or dynamic equilibrium arises out of that, which is the fundamental structure of the universe, but also the source of all change in the universe. And change is good, right? Evolution is good. Revolution is good, for that matter, because change throws up a whole new algorithm or algorithms of possibility, which is more universes, more things for the human consciousness to explore. And the modern Gnostic will say to all this, yes, but there is a transcendental realm. If you look inside yourself, if modern Gnostics are looking outwards. They can't help it. We're looking at the world, but we're also, on occasion, looking inwards. And when you look inwards, you can find, on occasion, a bridge that extends out from your present consciousness, your discursive consciousness as it is now, to a consciousness which is transcendental in nature. That is to say, the consciousness occupies a realm which is utterly beyond our conception, and is utterly beyond dualism, and is utterly beyond necessity, and utterly beyond the world as it is presently comprised, and beyond all the constituents of this world as well. And as a world which is not only other, but greater, and more pleasurable, and more beautiful, and more spectacular, and more worthy of our attention and occupation and exploration than even this incredible dimension. And this you have experience of on the inner, by going into yourself very deeply through spontaneous introspection. And of course, beyond that, as I've said before, that looking ahead to after we have died as individuals, we also take all our experiences of this realm, and with these experiences, we have a reference point for being able to experience the ineffable realms of the true God, which is something I'm going to talk about later. So you can see that it's possible for modern Gnostics to be like the god Janus and to look two ways, because we don't. It's, as I say, it's not like classical Gnosticism, which is a rejection of matter as being evil. It's more nuanced than that. It's more complicated a situation than that. Nevertheless, there is a transcendental path, spiritual path to be followed, which really does take the person completely outside all this. And I kind of gesture again around the room, and I gesture towards my book on Goetia, and I gesture towards my tantric books and my book on Golden Dawn magic. It's beyond all of it, beyond seances and beyond ghosts and beyond personalities and discarnate and incarnate, beyond the wheel of samsara, beyond everything that people have observed in terms of energy that can be manipulated. So in that sense, and also it's not about manipulation, it's about surrender to the will of God, which of course is something which worshippers of the Demiurge don't really accept, because although there is an acceptance of life as it is. It is what it is, existence. There's also a desire to make life better for yourself and make yourself more than yourself. And this is, this is also part of the living in this physical and etheric temple of the Demiurge. So you can see that worshippers of Demiurge really are sort of puzzled, bemused really about transcendentalists and about Gnostics. They don't understand them, and they don't understand them to such a degree that they really just ignore you as a Gnostic, because it's like they would say, well, I literally can't enter into your paradigm. It's so other, it's so foreign to my way of thinking as a worshipper of the Demiurge, that I really can't. I just can't get it. I can't see it. And the modern Gnostic, in response to this, saying, well, yes, if you don't get it, you don't get it. But if you do get it through some kind of Gnostic experience, then you've got it for life. But we are not like the Jedi, and you are not like the Sith. It's not that kind of dualism, the sort of, it's not Star Wars. It's not George Lucas's universe. It's beyond that universe entirely. Because even when you think about Jedi and Sith, I mean, they're supposed to be good and evil, but then they both have a happy time zapping each other with lasers, so and providing George Lucas with vast sums of money, as he makes money from the entire Star Wars franchise. So, Jedi, Sith, Voldemort, Harry Potter, that's just a dualism which is just a literary device, and both Demiurge worshippers and Gnostics agree that life isn't as simple as just that standard dualism that you see in Hollywood, for example. But I mean, so it seems that the worshippers of the Demiurge take a very bird's eye view of things. It's just the Gnostics take an even higher view of everything that's going on. So that's the relationship between modern Gnostics and worshippers of the Demiurge, who appear in lots of different colours and hues. As I say, everything from Freemasons to demonolators and demonologists as well, for that matter. The relationship is one of mutual respect, really, but also, I think, mutual bemusement, quite frankly. The Gnostics fill the Demiurge worshippers with bemusement, and I suppose the worshippers of the Demiurge, I think they're kind of understood by Gnostics as I understand them now. As I presented this, I understand them. I know where they're coming from. It's just I don't think they're going anywhere. They're on the road to nowhere, sort of thing, really. Whereas a Gnostic is on the road to somewhere, which is somewhere utterly other than here. And I suppose ultimately they're going to somewhere where the very concept of here and there doesn't really matter anyway.